Thanks so much for clicking on the video. Here at Reforge Gaming, reacting to a video called Starfield is Hated. This is why. Be sure to check out the original video linked below, as well as the YouTuber. His name is Light. You can click on his name in the description or the original video. We like to do reaction-style live streams like this, so it'll be pretty long form. I dialogue with chat while I'm reacting to the video. So I'm not saying Starfield is hated. I've actually spent a lot of time defending the game and how it looks and looking forward to it. My primary concern has been performance. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you like this kind of content so you don't miss it. I'm going to end the previous stream. We did a PlayStation Showcase expectation stream. I'm going to bring those people over and then make sure as you come over that you smash the like button. So let me get into this scene here. This is going to be the scene for us to watch the video, and again, I'll be pausing it throughout, reacting to what he is saying. I thought that the video was very well done and thought it would make for a great discussion. Here we go.
Why does Starfield get so much hate? Starfield gets a pretty insane amount of hate, especially when you consider that the game hasn't even released yet, and we really haven't seen all that much of it. So in today's video, I want to go over why Starfield gets so much hate, especially in recent times. Let's not waste any more time and drop the video a like for me. Consider subscribing if you're new around here and you're looking for a place to stay up to date on Starfield news, leaks, discussions, and plenty more. With that down, let's get straight to it.
Let's get into this. Guys, make sure you're smashing like as you come in. Give us the first 100. You're the best.
15 or so years, video games have changed a lot. Back when I was a kid, you would pick up a new video game basically just from its box art. Go home, insert the cartridge, and see if it was a good game or not. Nowadays, video games are a lot more popular. It isn't just, quote, the nerds and geeks that play them anymore. Almost everybody has some type of gaming platform in their house, whether that be a console or a PC. Because of video games' new popularity, marketing for video games has skyrocketed again over the last 15 to 20 years.
I think this is a good observation that's probably going to serve as like a really, really good foundation. You think the volume's kind of low? All right, I'll give him some gain in OBS to make him come through a little bit louder. He looks like he's coming through just fine on OBS, so he just might be feel quiet in comparison to me. So I'll give it a little bit more volume. I think this is going to be some good foundation, though, to basically be like, listen, marketing has completely and utterly changed the way that we view games. So there's almost like a preamble and a prologue before a game even comes out. You have people debating on whether or not the gameplay looks good or the gameplay looks mid, right? And I really, really think that that's something that many people have to consider in these debates, because people are like, well, how could people... Wait, how could people say that Starfield's already hated? Have you paid attention to any of the console war debates as of late? I mean, there are people going to war for this game. So I would say that this is a good foundation to start with. So yeah, I've turned his volume up a teeny bit.
But there's something else that unfortunately has grown more and more popular over the same amount of time, and that is corporate greed. Over the last 5 or so years especially, we're constantly seeing video game developers lie to their fans, either promising things that aren't in the game or making the game look a lot better or a lot more stable than it actually is.
Yeah, and we just covered Cyberpunk, and if you missed that episode, it was an episode that basically said, is Cyberpunk having its No Man's Sky moment? And you can go watch that, and that is actually, like, I think a really, really good show open. You don't have to watch the entire stream. You could just watch the show open, where I argue about whether or not, Cyberpunk can have its No Man's Sky moment. Should we support games having redemption arcs? And if you're even just looking at this brief, smattering of footage here from this guy's video of Cyberpunk, you can see just how poorly that game turned out in comparison to the marketing. So thanks everybody coming over with the redirect. Almost 400 people already here, man. Get us to 200 likes super fast. You guys are here and you're smashing the buttons. Thank you so much.
And sweeping the hate under the rug and keeping the checks once their lies manage to sell their games. I personally believe that Cyberpunk 2077 and Fallout 76 are prime examples of this. But even
So he's setting up his argumentation with Cyberpunk and Fallout 76, which I think is pretty fair. I would say that I don't think you could look at Cyberpunk and say that they were successful with their sort of treatment of the consumer from corporate greed. I don't think it was a successful endeavor. Their stock value, their share value was between $20 and $30 before Cyberpunk launched. It's at about $6.50. That's massive loss for their shareholders. That's massive valuation loss. They were sued by their shareholders. So their ability to generate profit and sell well and have really big, commercial success with Cyberpunk is not in a vacuum, right? They've been very severely damaged by Cyberpunk. So I don't think if that's going to be his example of like, yeah, look, corporate greed pays off, I'd be like, I don't know about that. I don't think it's paid off for CD Projekt Red. I think it's still very much has hurt them. Now they are seemingly having their comeback moment. Last year, 2022 was their second best year as a company, and it was all because of Cyberpunk and the show made people buy the game, and people buying the game were leaving really good reviews for about 4 or 5 months in a row. They were seeing good results of reviews and sales. So it wasn't like it was just like 1 month when the show came out. So I think this is still a good place to start his video, because you have to consider what everybody is assuming about games these days, right? You see these big budget titles, you see all these promises, you see all these trailers, and you're like, yeah, that game's probably going to blow. That game's going to suck, right? I experience this all of the time now. I call it the jaded gamer, right? The jaded gamer isn't impressed by anything. Everything looks like crap. Everything looks mid. And I think that that's something to consider in the conversation about why people seemingly already are hating on Starfield. And there were multiple days where like I felt like I did nothing but defend Starfield. Like people say that I'm a Sony pony, but there were literal days where I felt like that's all I was doing was defending Starfield against people saying that it's crap. So let's keep watching his video. Make sure you guys are smashing like. We already have over 100 likes. Y'all are the best.
Even just in the last month alone, we've seen 2 video games have the same problems, with the Outer Worlds Spacer Choice Edition and The Last of Us Part 1 PC port. Again, 2 major video games marketed as perfectly fine and releasing in bad states.
And the Last of Us PC port, there's some really good videos out there, like Oh No, It's Alex. I think he did a really good job breaking down some of the problems with that game. It's not excusable. Like some of the things they're fixing already, it's like it shouldn't even have launched like this. How did this even get out of testing? And I think that's something to consider, in the marketing of video games and in the conversation about hating and praising games before they come out. You have to consider the jaded gamer effect. And we just had, this really, really bad Last of Us PC port that is likely adding to that conversation. It's adding to that skepticism. It's making people say, it's making people sort of decry a game's quality before it even hits the market, or assume a game is going to be overhyped and under-delivered before it even hits the market. And I think that needs to be considered when we're having this conversation about Starfield, because Starfield has certainly had just an absolute ton of marketing and press, and there's a lot of eyeballs on the game. There really, really is. And the question is it going to deliver?
Just in the last month alone, this really is a major problem, a growing problem that heavily affects video games more and more every year. Because of this, fans are beginning to lower their expectations and beginning to already assume that video games are bad without even playing them. Whereas back in the, say, PlayStation 2 days, if we saw a trailer for a video game, we basically knew exactly what we was getting. Another major problem, I think, is the misleading advertisements of video games now.
I think he's kind of going where I was going, right? The idea that people are lowering their expectations for games, maybe even to the point of being critical before the game comes out, right? Hence the title of his video, Starfield is hated, this is why. He's sort of making his case here. He's saying, listen, people are lowering their expectations. I would go farther than he's going. It's not even that they're lowering their expectations. They're coming to conclusions before the game is out. I've had this experience. I really have. I've had people come into my stream about Starfield. They're like, it's going to suck. It's going to be buggy. It's going to be trash. It's going to be another Bethesda bad release. It's like, that's not skepticism, cynicism. That's not lowering your expectations. That's somebody who has come to a convicted, like, that's a conviction. That's a conclusion, right? And I do. I think it's related to the evolution of gaming and the change of how games are marketed. They're overpromised and they under-deliver. So 440 people watching on YouTube. Listen, a lot of you guys got redirected and you might be lurking. Do me a favor, unlurk and smash the like button. Get us to 200 likes while we watch this video and have a conversation. I don't know why it didn't play. Hang on.
For me personally, a prime example of this was The Last of Us Part 2, which clearly marketed Joel, the game's first protagonist, being a major part of the sequel, whereas actually, he's barely in the game at all. If Naughty Dog didn't lie in their marketing, or as they would like to call it, mislead us to avoid spoilers, I wouldn't have purchased the game at all. Thankfully,
yeah, see, this is where I don't necessarily know if this is a good example for his case, because I knew before the game came out that I was going to be primarily playing as Ellie. Like, I knew I wasn't good. I remember one of the first pieces of gameplay they showed us. The game wasn't out yet. I remember watching a trailer of her playing. I don't think they misled us. Now, it seems like they answered the question and said, well, we misled you to avoid spoilers. We wanted you to think you were going to be playing as Joel to avoid spoilers. I feel like I knew before that game came out that I was going to be playing as Ellie. I don't think this is a good example to support his case. Like, I think he started out really strong. I hope he has other examples, because I don't think this is the best example of, oh, yeah, we promised you this and you got something worse. Because The Last of Us Part 2, it got award nominations, good reviews, it won Game of the Year, and I don't think I do think there was a cultural conversation there that helped it. Same with Deathloop, right? That's a whole nother conversation. I think Ghost of Tsushima deserved to win that year, but still, it's unavoidable to look at the praise and the critical acclaim and the commercial success of The Last of Us Part 2 and be like, well, they lied to us in the marketing. I think that's an overstated case. They heavily marketed it as Ellie's game. Yeah, I don't think this supports. I don't think this supports his premise as strongly as it could. Somebody in chat is saying, they showed clips of Joel later in the game, but it was actually other characters. It was kind of misleading. Oh, they showed clips of Joel later in the game, but it was actually other characters. So they did make it look like he was going to make it, through the game. He was going to be in the late game, but he wasn't. Yeah, I could understand somebody being upset about that. But the only gameplay I saw of The Last of Us Part 2 was Ellie. I remember her hiding behind a car. I remember her getting down low, and I remember her getting behind some counter. I specifically remember seeing that gameplay, so I don't think this is the best place for him to go to support his cause, because again, if you're just tuning in, we are reacting to a video, Starfield is Hated, by the YouTuber Light. His video has done very well. It's got almost 7,000 views. That's more than his channel has subscribers. That's a great ratio for a channel with under 5,000 subscribers to get a 7,000 viewed video. So you can tell why. It's a very well done video. It's put together very well. I just don't think this is a particularly strong point. Eric with a $5 tip says, I think the negativity is a form of self-preservation, protecting yourself from disappointment. I mean, you guys can weigh in on that theory. I don't necessarily know if the negativity is a form of self-preservation. I think it's a form of jaded toxicity. I don't necessarily think it's self-preservation. I think some people it's self-preservation, but I don't know. The general negativity and cynicism surrounding video games these days, I don't necessarily think it's self-preservation. So let's see what other points he has to make here.
I did manage to get a refund on my pre-order, but that's besides the point. So
Wait. Hang on a minute. We got to go back. Hang on a minute. Hang on. We got to re-listen to this.
The game at all. If Naughty Dog didn't lie in their marketing, or as they would like to call it, mislead us to avoid spoilers, I wouldn't have purchased the game at all. Thankfully, I did manage to get a refund on my pre-order.
Wait. So that means he didn't play it. That means he got his money back, which means at some point the marketing communicated to him, you're not going to want to play this game if you want to play as Joel. You can't get your money back on your pre-order unless you try to do that before the game comes out. I think that again. I don't know. The algorithm promoted his video. It got in my recommendations. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think that weakens his case. You can't cite that as misleading marketing. If you knew to cancel your pre-order, then you had enough information before the game came out, which means you can't claim the marketing was that misleading. Maybe the initial trailer, maybe the initial teaser where she's like playing the guitar. Come on. The leaks? Oh, yeah, Alex Gunner. That's fair. He might push back and say, I canceled my pre-order because of the leaks, not because of the marketing. That's fair pushback. Okay. I still think the only gameplay I saw before this game came out was Ellie. I really, really do. I think maybe he was presuming a little too much. Because the gameplay I saw, I thought, oh, they're handing the game off to Ellie. Thank you guys for a strong turnout today. We are reacting to a video called Starfield is Hated. He's making his case right now talking about misleading marketing, and he got stuck on The Last of Us 2. I don't think it's the strongest case that he could make. Make sure you're smashing the like button as you come in. You can also gift members. I owe you 5 members. If we get 15 more, I'll owe you 10. I do give 5 back every time we get 25. Let's keep watching.
But that's besides the point. So in the aftermath of games like Cyberpunk and Fallout 76 especially, which were played by a lot of the same people who will play Starfield, due to the games being similar in nature, it's understandable why so many are refusing to give Starfield a chance, and instead are just straight up hating on the game without even...
I actually agree with this. Right? I agree with this. I think people are already giving Starfield a rough piece of treatment, and it's literally because of Fallout 76. I've had people come into my stream and say, nope, no. They burned me. They burned me on Fallout 76. I am not going to play Starfield. Starfield's just going to be another Fallout 76. Now, the pushback, which is a totally fair pushback, is people will say, it's a different team. It's a different team. I think that's totally fair. I do. I think that's totally fair. And I don't know if he's going to get into that. But I do think there are people that are looking at Fallout 76. They're not looking at Cyberpunk. They're not looking at these other games. They're looking at Fallout 76 and they're saying, "Listen, I don't have a good Bethesda aftertaste in my mouth right now, right?" So, I think people are saying that. I think that's true to his narrative.
Even playing it. And I would like to emphasize that if you simply don't think that Starfield looks good and it just doesn't look like the type of game for you, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody is entitled to their opinions after all, and you're allowed to dislike a video game. But what I'm mostly talking about here is the people who are online every day, giving Starfield hate and pretty much spreading lies and false information, such as...
This is something that I have found very common in some of these debates and some of these streams that we have done, is people will just straight up make stuff up. Starfield? What the frick? That's going to be a blip. We just switched ingest servers. That has not happened in a really, really long time. There'll be a blip and a follow-up blip. If the audio gets desynced, you're going to have to refresh. That hasn't happened in a really long time. YouTube's been acting very strange today. So you may have to refresh, and you may have to endure some follow-up blips, like the audio might get a little bit funky. So if you're in chat and everything's running smooth, just let people know to refresh if it's acting up, so I don't have to kind of babysit what just happened. YouTube must be doing something today, because we've not had an ingest server swap in a really long time. All right, here we go. Kick's been good for you. Yeah, Kick's on different ingest servers, and I'm also on a different internet connection with Kick. So let's keep watching.
Just the game being empty and not having much content, or others claiming that the game will not work on the Xbox Series S, despite having no proof of that.
Okay, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I want to talk about the Series S. I want to talk about the empty planets first, though. All right? I agree with him that as soon as they said 1,000 planets, there was this weird narrative that formed that, like, all the planets are going to be empty. right? That narrative formed almost immediately. And I don't know why people assumed that, because they quite literally said you'll be able to know if a planet has resources or a planet has things worth you going and getting, right? They've already said that. They've said, yep, you're going to know if a planet's worth going to. But if you want to go to a planet that's just an empty ice ball, you can, right? Now, guys, when we have blips like that, it tends to hurt us a little bit. Do me a favor. Please smash the like button and maybe gift some members. That kind of helps cushion the blow when we get blips like that, because YouTube's going to think that we're losing a bunch of viewers when we're not. It just inflated our viewer number because of the blip. So I think that the narrative about empty planets is a presumptive one, but it's not just a presumptive one. It's one that literally ignores commentary from Todd Howard about how you're going to be able to go to planets and you're going to know what's there. You're going to know if it's an empty ice ball. You're going to know if it's a planet rich with resources. You're not going to land on a planet and be like, what a freaking waste of time. There's nothing here, okay? So the empty planet narrative, I think that's stupid. I think people were immediately trying to trash the game. I remember telling people that I thought 1,000 planets sounded amazing. I don't know why everybody's saying, oh, it's terrible. Just give me 100 planets. Okay, whatever. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the Series S, because I know you guys know me. And I like talking about what I think the Series S, I actually think that Starfield's delay is directly related to optimizing for the Series S, okay? And he says there's no proof that it's going to run poorly on the Series S. He says that. I don't think there is proof, but I think there is evidence that demonstrates there could be a high likelihood of problems for Starfield on the Series S. All you have to do is look at the litany of games that have run poorly on the Series S, and then look at the Starfield gameplay. Look at the draw distance. Look at what they're attempting to do with size and scope of the game. Look at the fact that they want persistent itemization. They want items on the ground to be persistent as they have in previous games. That's why they like using this engine. That's why they like using their engine, the creation engine. All of that has to be considered when you look at what the Series S can do and that it has a memory bottleneck. None of this is me slamming. Like, none of this is me saying that, your Series S is a piece of trash, right? Starfield will be fine on the Series S and X. That's not an argument. That's just an assertion based in nothing. There's no reason to say it'll be fine. Fine is relative. I truly believe that when September rolls around, everybody's going to switch their narrative. Everybody's going to switch from the narrative of, yep, Starfield's going to be totally fine on the Series S, and you're going to turn around and your narrative's going to be, it's Bethesda's fault, they're lazy devs. It's an unfalsifiable position. The Series S narrative is an unfalsifiable position from the people that defend it. They say that it's fine. They bury their head in the sand. They ignore all of the Digital Foundry videos. They ignore all of the tech analysis that shows just how poorly games run over there. And if they ever acknowledge how poorly games run over there, they just claim that the devs are lazy. They blame it on the developers. They don't actually look at the technical bottleneck within the system itself. They blame it on the devs, which is exactly what will happen. If this game runs poorly on the Series S, that's what everybody's going to run to. They're going to run to, it's Bethesda's fault, they're lazy, and here's why you can't do that. I'm cutting off that narrative at the pass because I know that's what's going to happen. They are already on record, Todd Howard in an interview is already on record stating that Xbox engineers are helping them with this game to get it to run well on the Xbox. There's a reason that he said that. I think that's the primary cause for the delay. I think they're struggling to get this game to run on the Series S. We already saw performance struggles within the gameplay reveal that they showed us. We've already seen that. We've already seen those performance struggles, okay? You have to imagine what those performance struggles are going to look like on a console that has to dumb down the graphics, that has to dumb down the performance. If you think you're going to get 1080 60 in this game, I will be shocked, because Halo Infinite was built for the Xbox and it runs dynamic 1080 just to get 60. That's Halo Infinite, right? That's Halo Infinite. runs dynamic 1080. That's old gen resolution. Dynamic meaning it doesn't stay at 1080, it dips below just to maintain 60 FPS. If you look at Halo Infinite and then you look at Starfield, I got bad news for you. Starfield is significantly bigger and more demanding than Halo Infinite. So, like I said, I agree with this guy that made this video. I agree with the YouTuber. There is no proof it's going to run bad on the Series S, but there is demonstrable evidence that there's a high likelihood that it will have struggles and it will have performance problems. If you're enjoying this reaction video, there's over 500 people here. Make sure you're smashing the like button. I owe you guys 5 members. I'll do it in a moment. If anybody wants to gift a member, I'm going to piggyback off of it. I don't want to drop frames or anything and open up a bunch of tabs. So, I can do that if somebody wants to gift. I'll piggyback. I'll owe you more if we move the goal below me. Let's keep watching.
Another thing that we do definitely need to take into account is the acquisition of Bethesda by Microsoft. Pretty much since Morrowind, Bethesda games have been on almost every platform, and now the company is owned by Microsoft, meaning their games will be exclusive to the Xbox consoles and PCs only. This, I think, understandably, upset a lot of Bethesda fans who prefer gaming on the PS5. For my console choice, I definitely prefer my PS5 over my Xbox Series X. Of course that is just my personal opinion, but I do somewhat understand it. In, again, my personal opinion, I disagree with exclusivity, besides PC exclusive games that have to require more buttons and things such as that. But for
I wonder if when he says he disagrees with exclusivity, is he disagreeing with first-party exclusives like God of War and Halo, or is he saying, I don't like exclusivity when you basically buy the game and keep it from the other platform? Like that, there's a huge difference, right? I don't want to get into this big debate about did Phil Spencer lie when we didn't take anything from PlayStation, right? Technically, that's true. They didn't take any existing games from PlayStation. I don't think Phil Spencer lied. But certainly, and there's the 5 gifted members, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Jake Lightning, Infernal, Ugly Nerd, Peanut King, and Laggy Pixel. You guys are all now members. Don't forget to check out the buy 2, get 1 free coffee sale that you can take advantage of in my Discord as a member. We're having a huge sale right now. So I don't want to get into that. But there is a big difference between paying and developing your own first-party game and buying a game that's already made and saying, yeah, the other side can't have it now. That's not an exclusivity contract. That's not an exclusive game first party. That's you bought a game mid-development and now the other platform can't have it. So I want to see what he has to say here, because he says, he doesn't like exclusivity. It sounds like he has all the consoles, which it doesn't really affect him. So I want to see why he thinks that.
For the most part, I think that exclusivity is just greed, and I mostly disagree with it. I believe that nobody should be punished for owning the platform of their choosing.
Okay, wow. Woo! We're going to be disagreeing with this guy today. Woo! Okay, first and foremost, nobody is punishing anybody, right? You're not punished because a movie's only available on Disney. You're not punished because you can only get a certain food item in a certain fast food restaurant. They made it. It's theirs, right? Like you can only watch Queen's Gambit on Netflix, right? You can only watch Mandalorian on Disney Plus. Why? They made it. They invested in it. One of the reasons you got high-quality first-party content in the TV realm is because they want it to be amazing, so they spend really, really good money on it because they want you to be enticed to come to their platform. So this idea that like, oh, you're punished. No, you're not. No one's punishing you. One of the reasons that Nintendo first-party titles are so good is because they have to be good. It's one of the primary reasons that people buy a Nintendo. One of the reasons that PlayStation first-party titles are so good is because they invest money making them excellent, and developers are specifically on record stating that developing for one ecosystem is easier and better. You end up with a better game. You end up with a faster bandwidth of timeline to turn around because they're only building for one platform. So this, again, I've been wanting to maybe even do a video on this or do a stream on this. There's this weird growing sentimentality that exclusivity is just blanketedly wrong or bad. And I'm like, no, it's not. Exclusivity has benefited us in many, many ways. If you fight against first-party exclusives, you're fighting against one of the fabrics of the history of video games. This idea that, well, I bought this piece of plastic from Microsoft, that should give me a right to play a game that PlayStation has invested in, and vice versa. If I buy a PlayStation piece of plastic, that doesn't give me a right to something that Microsoft has invested in creating. If you buy a Nintendo Switch, that doesn't give you a right to anything other companies have invested money in. You gave money to Nintendo. That doesn't concern Sony at all. It doesn't. No one's punishing you. Nobody is. That passive entitlement is so weird. I'm going to fight against it every time it comes up because it is so bonkers weird. Oh, I gave money to Amazon for Amazon Prime. I shouldn't be punished and not able to watch The Mandalorian. What are you talking about? You gave money to Amazon. That has nothing to do with Disney as a business. That has nothing to do with their bottom line. That has nothing to do with the investment and the money that they spent in hiring a cast, hiring a director, paying for all of the editing and paying for all the pre-production and the post-production. They spent all that money making Mandalorian and Andor. Me giving money to Amazon doesn't mean a thing to Disney. You gave money to Microsoft for a piece of plastic. It doesn't give you the right for anything on another platform's investment structure. It doesn't. That is backwards thinking. It's just completely and utterly backwards. It would be like buying, anything that has proprietary stuff attached to it that a company is invested in and be like, this is ridiculous. I gave money to this company and you should be letting me have access to your stuff. Home Depot customers are punished because Lowe's gets specific tools. It just doesn't make any sense. It really, really doesn't. Companies invest millions of dollars into R&D, that's research and development. They invest all this money into studios and new technology and growing the staff, and they do sales forecasts and marketing research. They spend all that money, and then you're like, oh, I should be able to play that game. Why? Well, because I gave money to a different company. It's just weird.
Xbox fans should be able to play games such as Insomniac's Spider-Man 2, and PlayStation fans who have spent the last 10 plus years waiting for The Elder Scrolls 6 should be able to play it. And I hope that you can all understand my point of view here, even if you disagree.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem with this point of view. He's conflating categories. There is an enormous canyon-sized difference between Insomniac Spider-Man and The Elder Scrolls, okay? Number one, the Spider-Man license was offered to Microsoft and they turned it down. And Sony takes the contract and the exclusivity and invests in Insomniac and cranks out an amazing game. You don't get any right or claim to that game. Sony's the one that brought it to fruition. It's theirs. It's not greed. It's just basic business. If I invest a bunch of money in a bunch of software that I want to launch on my platform, and you're like, well, we want to play it over here, I may analyze that and come to the conclusion that I need to port it over there to make money, but that has nothing to do with how much money I spent to bring that product to market. The other problem is there's a giant difference between Spider-Man and Insomniac and the history there and Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls was promised to the gaming world from a company that is always multi-platform. That company gets bought by Xbox, and now Elder Scrolls is an Xbox exclusive. That's not the same. It wasn't like there was some big announcement, we got a whole franchise of Spider-Man games coming and we can't wait to bring them to you, and that was from some developer that's historically multi-platform, and oh yeah, no, you can't get it. There is zero connection between the Elder Scrolls and Spider-Man, not even remotely. You can't be objective. We've sniffed out so much bias that it hurts his argument. But I don't know if there's a bias here. What's the bias? He said he prefers playing on PlayStation. I don't feel like bias is overriding his argument. I just think he's one of those people that has come to the conclusion that exclusivity is bad. Everybody should be able to play the game. Oh, more people would play it, more people would buy it. That's better for the game, that's better for the company, that's better for the industry. Developers don't agree with you. The developers don't agree with you. Developers have come out and said, making for one ecosystem, they prefer it. It's better, it's easier, they can optimize the game better. You guys are getting called out in chat. They're saying we need more likes. There's over 550 people here. Let's shoot for 300 likes. Didn't Sony do the exact same thing with Final Fantasy 16? Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy as a franchise is not traditionally multi-platform, though. Final Fantasy's history is not some big giant multi-platform franchise. It isn't. They've had a history of exclusivity and a relationship with Sony. That would be like looking at any game that has a history of exclusivity with Microsoft. If they suddenly came out with a game and it was exclusive to Microsoft, you'd be like, well, yeah, I would come to expect that. Spider-Man was multi-platform? No. Spider-Man as a character may have been multi-platform in the past. The Spider-Man license was offered to Xbox and they turned it down. The people, you want to be mad at somebody, the people who owned the rights of the next Spider-Man game, they were looking for a platform to build it. They were shopping around the license and Microsoft said no. You can't use that as an example. The birth of Spider-Man by Insomniac was brought about by a company owning the license and saying, we're looking for a platform to build this game. That's not even remotely the same. It's not.
The new Bethesda exclusivity is definitely a driving factor of the Starfield hate. A lot of people I see giving Starfield hate are usually fans of PlayStation, and I think a lot of the time, the PlayStation fans are simply just upset that the game that they've been looking forward to for a long time will no longer be available to them, unless they...
And I think this is actually a good point that he's making. So I don't think his argumentation up to now has been very airtight. I think it got a little loose, but I do think he's right here. The fact that Pete Hines apologized to people on the PlayStation ecosystem, the fact that Pete Hines says exclusivity was never even a thought until we were owned by Microsoft, that's a mic drop on all the people that are like, you shouldn't have assumed and presumed. Sit down and be quiet. Pete Hines, head of Bethesda Publishing, literally said, we were never considering that until we got bought. It was going to basically... He's like, yeah, it was going to be multi-platform. We're sorry that people aren't going to be able to play it. We're sorry that you were looking forward to it. That 100% is one of the reasons that this game is getting hate. It's pure jealousy. People are angry. People are jealous. They're like, I was looking forward to playing that game. I was looking forward to diving into that game, and now I can't. They announced it. It looked awesome. I liked Bethesda RPGs. I liked Skyrim. I liked Fallout. And I was looking forward to Starfield. And now, according to Pete Hines, it was never even a thought. And now it's exclusive. I think he's right. I think people are hating on the game because of that. Is that right? I don't necessarily think so. You're right, there's zero connection, says Ghost Legit, between Spider-Man and Elder Scrolls. Spider-Man has a huge fan base. Elder Scrolls is a single-player RPG. Spider-Man should have stayed multi-platform. Hey, listen. Take it up with Microsoft. They turned down the license, and take it up with the company that was shopping the license. They were looking for a platform to develop it. Like, you're ignoring cold hard facts. If you're upset about the fact that you can't play Spider-Man, or that, oh, Spider-Man should have stayed multi-platform, that wasn't Sony's decision, and Microsoft got first dibs, and they turned it down. They
want to spend hundreds for a new console, which I'll likely only use to play this one game. And obviously, nobody wants to do that. And in a result, they sort of, for lack of a better word, lie to themselves, and tell themselves that Starfield looks bad, and they choose to only focus on the negative news that comes out, such as the Starfield delays, rather than say, the news of Starfield having more handcrafted content than any previous Bethesda Game Studios game.
But that's a false dichotomy, that's a false binary. I've covered both. I'm not saying he's talking about me, but I'm just saying that's a false binary. There are people that have focused on the negative aspects of Starfield, the delays, the performance issues in the trailer, right? But I focus on both. I don't think people that have focused on the delays and the performance issues in the videos, and in the gameplay streams, I don't think that's just automatically somebody grinding in negative acts. Like, I remember sitting here arguing with people who said that the characters looked terrible. I was arguing with people who said that the characters in Starfield didn't look any better than Fallout. And I was like, dude, do a freaking side-by-side. The characters in Starfield look amazing, right? And there were people that tried to do this. This blew my mind. Like, if we're gonna be objective here and play both sides, there were people that were super pro Starfield that insisted that it launching in September of this year, they were insisting that wasn't a delay. I was like, how are you going to claim that's not a delay? It's a delay. They said first half of 2023. I literally, like, and this is what frustrates me about people who approach these discussions and they're purely coming from fandom, right? That's not what this guy's doing. But the people that came to the discussion purely from fandom, I said, I don't think Starfield's coming first half. And you know what people told me? Oh, you're just being a hater. The Bethesda website, the Bethesda help site, confirmed the release date is in the first half of 2023. And then the next week, when it lands in September, you know what those people say? It's not a delay. We didn't have a release date anyway. Oh, okay. So wait a minute. Okay. A week ago, I was a hater, and the game was guaranteed. It was coming first half of 2023. It's on the Bethesda help page. And then the next week, it's not a delay. There was no release date. Oh, okay. Okay. So we're in the business of lying now, right? We're just going to make things up. Okay. Okay. Bring that energy. The date's confirmed, but then when it gets delayed, it's not delayed. Sounds like goalpost moving. Yeah, it sounds like we're switching stadiums more than moving the goalpost.
Again, I hope that you can all understand my point of view here. Now, of course, there are just people who don't like the look of Starfield and know that the game won't be for them. And as I said earlier, that is perfectly fine. Not all games are for everyone. And people are allowed their own opinions.
That's true. And I will say, I'm one of the people who has been pretty critical of Xbox, and I've been concerned about Starfield's performance based on the videos, based on the Series S and its bottleneck, right? I've been concerned, but I will say this. It's one of the games I'm looking forward to the most. I'm really, really looking forward to it. So, because I actually think this game has massive potential. I'm telling you, the people that got really mean about the character faces and the glassy eyes and they look like mannequins that look dead. Oh, they got 100-yard dead-eyed stare. I think those people were being overly critical. I think Starfield's going to be amazing. I'm more concerned about performance. Look at the eyes, lazy eye. Right, but if you zero in on her face and that's what you're going to focus on, you're not addressing the game in context, right? And let me explain what I mean. If you're going to play a game like this and you're going to have, what is it, like 4 times the dialogue eyes or twice the number of dialogue eyes, dialogue lines as the previous games, right? They have so much more dialogue. That dialogue and those dialogue options and those gameplay systems, they simply do not work without automation. So you can't have handcrafted scenes and handcrafted NPC movement and talking. You have to automate almost all of it. You can see similar automation and mannequin-esque movement and sort of wooden characters. You can see this in Hogwarts Legacy. There's tons of characters for you to interact with. There's all this dialogue, all this investigation you can do. If you feel like talking to somebody, you can. If you don't want to talk to them, you don't have to. So you have to look at this character design in context. If you look at the clothing design, if you look at the texture, the hair, the skin, and you compare it to games in this genre, this looks incredible. If you compare Starfield to other games in this genre where there's tons of lines of dialogue and there's this deep RPG system of persuasion and dialogue and you're leveling up your skill tree, this game looks amazing within that genre. And what people do is they'll do a side-by-side of her face, and they'll put her face up against some game that's a single-player cinematic narrative game. And it's like, that's not the same type of game. You can't put, like, Kratos next to her. You can't put Celine from Returnal or any the characters in The Last of Us. You can't do that. Those games do not have this level of NPC interaction, billions of permutations of potential outcomes of dialogue. All of that automation is going to affect what these people look like. And if you really look at the NPCs and you look at them in that context, they look incredible. I think the NPCs in Starfield look fantastic. I think people are being persnickety and dumb. It's like you're not playing some single player rendered cutscene game. You're playing a game where virtually every NPC has tons of dialogue options. What about Horizon? I actually would put this game up against Horizon Zero Dawn, because Horizon Zero Dawn, everybody's very like wooden and mannequin. Horizon Forbidden West significantly upgraded what their people look like and how their people move. And I actually think the character design in this, I think some of the characters come very close to what Horizon Forbidden West looks like. But you also have to consider something. The cast of NPCs and the number of dialogue lines in Horizon Forbidden West is nowhere near the number that is in Starfield. They're different games entirely, so there'll be different priorities. Horizon is more of a single-player story-driven game, not a space RPG exploration game. Look at the number of dialogue lines in the dialogue system in Starfield. It's not the same game that Horizon Forbidden West is. Horizon Forbidden West is more story-driven, more narrative-driven, more action-adventure-driven. So they prioritized making those faces and making those facial animations look incredible. So this looks last gen. I didn't say that. It's the genre. You have to consider the genre that you're playing. I'm telling you, if you look at this game in the context and in the style that it is, what you're going to be able to do, this is not an open world action RPG. It's a long tail, crazy amount of dialogue system RPG. I think if you look at it in context, and compare it to other Bethesda games, the characters look phenomenal. Starfield's one of the best looking Bethesda open world games. That's exactly right, Brap. You can't jump to other games. They have different engines, different mocap, different aims, different aspirations. If you start comparing Starfield to Horizon Forbidden West, you're automatically making a bad comparison. You just can't do that. You're underestimating the dialogue system in Horizon Forbidden West. It's not TLU. Horizon has loads of dialogue options. Yeah, but it doesn't have dialogue options that are built to and attached to an RPG system. It's not the same. If you really want to compare the dialogue trees and the dialogue options in Horizon Forbidden West to Starfield, I think you're going to lose that race. Big time. Big time. This game is squashing past Bethesda games with respect to number of dialogue lines. Like, I don't know. You got to be careful with your comparisons, because you're always going to be able to find a game where the characters look better for the most part. You're always going to find some game that's pushing the envelope. That's not what Starfield's trying to do. You're not. All Starfield is a modded Fallout 4, empty platitude that can't be substantiated. And if you compare this to Fallout 4, you look stupid.
But we cannot deny that there is a lot of hate that we see, and it mostly comes from people who very clearly just dislike Xbox as a whole. And
like, if you look at that guy's face, and you look at the animations, and you look at the lighting, and you look at the skin texture, that is top shelf for the genre of Starfield. It just is. It's top shelf. Like, this is on par with facial animations in open world action adventure games that have a fraction of the dialogue lines. You know? And I loved Horizon Forbidden West. I thought the dialogue in Horizon Forbidden West was great. One of my favorite times to invest in the dialogue was when we were learning about all those things back at the base. I loved it. You know? But I'm telling you, if you compare this to Fallout 4 and you think this just looks like a modded Fallout 4, I mean, there's zero credibility there. This looks nothing like Fallout. This blows Fallout 4 out of the water. Why go down Starfield versus Horizon Forbidden West? You simply cannot win this argument. What do you mean? Why can't I win the argument? You haven't, nobody's substantiated why you could compare this game to Horizon Forbidden West. Listen, it's an ignorant comparison. You cannot compare a game at the scope and the size of Starfield to Horizon Forbidden West. It's called a false equivalency. You can't do that. At the time that Fallout 4 or Skyrim came out, if you would have compared them to cinematically driven, character-driven, open-world action-adventure games, you could have concluded that Skyrim and Fallout 4 had inferior graphics. Why? Because you're making a terrible mistake of comparison. You can't compare a game that gives you the freedom and the dialogue scope and the reach of Starfield and be like, oh, it doesn't look as good as Horizon Forbidden West. What the frick are you talking about? They're not even in the same hemisphere of game type. The intention of the developers isn't even remotely close to each other. They're completely different games. What's Wheezy saying? Yeah, but Starfield doesn't have the car details like Gran Turismo 7. Stupid comparison, but no, it's a comparison. Come on. That's what I'm saying. People call me a pony, but I will get in the ring for Starfield. I think so many of the complaints and criticisms are so poorly made. They're so poorly constructed. Chapter 8 says, maybe we have an anchoring problem. Objectively, Starfield looks good or even great in places, but people started from an unrealistic idea of what it would look like, so by comparison, it looks bad. I'm telling you, if you go to the genre that Starfield exists in, right? If you go to that genre and you look at Starfield objectively, it's top shelf as far as what the characters look like, the NPCs and the environments. They look incredible within the genre that it exists. Lono's not saying they look better. He's saying the dialogue system has more impact on gameplay. When you prioritize the quantitative reality of Starfield's dialogue system, you are not going to prioritize the characters looking the way that they look in an action-adventure, story-driven game. You're changing priorities. The minute they prioritize the dialogue system in this game and the quantity of dialogue lines, you will never see the characters look the way that they do in Horizon Forbidden West. Games like Forbidden West are always going to be cutting edge with the characters and their faces. Why? Because that is quite literally one of the threads of the game's quality. That's not a value point or a quality point in games like Starfield because you have automation systems to make the characters look, move, and do all their lines because there's too many. There's too many. If look at the trajectory of Skyrim to Fallout 4 to Starfield, and the stark differences in graphical quality is incredible. It is. Correct. It's impossible to animate all this dialogue to that quality. Yeah, they're using automated systems. You'll see similar wooden facial expressions and stuff. There are even some characters in Horizon Forbidden West that don't look as good as others. Why? Because you're dealing with a lot of automation. You deal with the same thing in Hogwarts Legacy. All right, we got to move on. I got to keep watching this movie. Listen. If this is one of your first times here, usually I am in this scene doing a talk show. We are reacting to a video called Starfield is Hated. This is why. Thank you so much, Fat Steven, for the raid. As you guys come in for the raid or as you're hanging out and enjoying this show, it's a safe for work broadcast. It's a talk show. It's vibrant, but because I keep it safe for work, you can keep me on in the background. Make sure you hit subscribe. That way you can talk in my chat, weigh in on the discussion and the debate, and make sure you're smashing the like button. We have 600 viewers and we haven't gotten 300 likes yet. Let's get it going.
And that, I think, is again where most of the hate comes from. Another major driving factor of the hate is actually Bethesda fans themselves. We all know, and I think that we can all agree, that Bethesda takes a very, very long time to put out their games. Elder Scrolls fans have been waiting over a decade for a new Elder Scrolls video game, and Fallout fans have been waiting almost a decade for a new Fallout video game, and they understandably have gotten very impatient. So when Bethesda announced that they were working on an unknown franchise with Starfield, a brand new IP, it very much annoyed and upset, for lack of a better word, a lot of the Fallout and Elder Scrolls fans.
Yeah, this is something that has to be considered in the timeline. I actually think this is really good that he's bringing this up, because they got asked so much about the next Elder Scrolls that they literally put together a silly, nothing Elder Scrolls trailer just so everybody would stop asking about it. Every time they would go to do an interview, that's what they would get asked about, right? Every time. My Fat Raid. Yeah, guys, click on Fat Steven's name and throw him a subscribe. He raids us pretty regularly. I think that's part of the reason people are being pretty critical or negative about Starfield. Because think about it. Like, they literally couldn't do an interview about anything they were doing. Because they'd be like, hey, are you guys doing Elder Scrolls 6? Well, we're not here to talk about Elder Scrolls. We're not here to talk about Elder Scrolls. Like, go back before the Elder Scrolls 6 announcement and the trailer, and they literally couldn't sit down for an interview without that being the sideshow. And so I think finally they're like, look, put together a trailer, let people know that it's going to happen, and then we can get back to what we're doing. And I think that people are probably annoyed. They're like, why would you make a brand new game instead of making another Elder Scrolls? Like, bounce between the two, right? Bounce between Fallout and Skyrim. Fallout, Skyrim. Fallout, Elder Scrolls, right? Instead of doing this Starfield game. Thank you, everybody who came over with the Fat Raid. Make sure you guys are smashing like. If we get 14 more members, I have to give 5 to pay it forward. Let's keep watching.
Especially because to them, Starfield just means waiting longer for their favourite franchise to get a new game. And as a major Elder Scrolls and Fallout fan myself, I can totally understand it. Because if I wasn't such a big sci-fi and space enthusiast, I'd probably be pretty upset with having to wait longer for Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5 too. And a lot of the time, you will see comments and mentions of people saying they don't care about Starfield, or that they want Starfield to just hurry up and release, so Bethesda can get back to working on the Elder Scrolls 6. And I think because of this, we see even more hate towards Starfield than we usually would for a Bethesda game.
I also think something you're going to see is if this game comes out and it has problems or it's bad or it isn't optimized all that well, you're going to see a lot of Bethesda fans that are like, great, fine, can you just move on to the next thing? Like, they're going to be like, that's fine, we don't care about that. Just move on to the next game. Can you just move on to Elder Scrolls, right? Can you just move on to Fallout 5? That'll be, I guarantee you that'll be part of the narrative, 100%.
Again, I do really want to emphasize that you are allowed to dislike the look of Starfield. You are allowed to not be excited for it. I'm not trying to make excuses for Bethesda here, especially when they've certainly done some bad things in the past. I am simply attempting to explain why a lot of the current hate for Starfield is happening. But that is all my thoughts. Please leave yours below. If you enjoyed today's content, I kindly ask that you leave it a like.
I think he's made a pretty good argument. Like, to track the argument, essentially what he did was he walked through and he said, and guys, make sure and support the video. It's linked below. You can also click on his name. The YouTube's name is Light, and the name of the video is Starfield is Hated, This Is Why. I'm serious. I honestly think people look at Starfield, and I think he's right. I think marketing has caused people to be jaded and super skeptical. I think you also have the element of people that are very, very much anti-Xbox, and because of the acquisition, they're angry because they thought Starfield was coming to PlayStation, because initially it was planned to come to PlayStation. Then you got people that are like, I don't even care about Starfield. I just wanted a new Fallout. I just wanted a new Elder Scrolls. So I think people are not, they're not correct or right, but I think he's correct and he's right in his estimation that, Starfield is getting hate for just a variety of reasons that have nothing to do with the game, right? People have a lot of entitlement that's misplaced. I mean, for sure, but when you saw Starfield initially announced, if you're a big Bethesda fan and you own a PlayStation 5, I don't think it's wrong to be like, or I don't think that's entitlement to be like, well, that's pretty disappointing. I like Bethesda games. I like Bethesda RPGs, and now I'm not going to get one, right? I think that that's fair. I agree with him on that note. I don't want a space game. I want another Fallout, so until then, my money is safe. I downloaded Fallout 4 yesterday as well for another playthrough. Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think about his argumentation. Weigh in here. I mean, why do you think Starfield's getting so much hate? Why do you think we're seeing seemingly a commitment to be sort of against games, sort of anti-Starfield? Cohen says it's not entitled. If it doesn't work correctly, they should do their work too. Xbox Nation is pumped for Starfield. It's going to be huge. What's Xbox Nation? What in the world? I'm a big fan of space-based games. The thing is, says Jackal, I'm going to play Starfield and I'm going to enjoy it, and I can't wait for the haters to be salty on me for enjoying my game. The thing that I'm looking forward to in Starfield is I want to live out a Star Trek fantasy, man. I want to be Captain Picard. I want to create an Enterprise. I want to go to every planet I can. I want to go to as many of the outposts and find people to do quests for, and I want to get into base building. I want my ship to evolve and get staff and new abilities, and you know what I'm saying? I'm down for that, bro. I really, really am. I don't know, man. I'm not going to get mad at devs busting their butt on a game and a new IP years in the making. People are just going to trash. People are making entertainment for us. Well, right. I kind of agree with you. Master Jazz. I don't know why anybody would be like upset that they're deciding to make a new game and a new IP. But I do think you could empathize and sympathize with people who really like Skyrim, and look what they've done with Skyrim. Like, Bethesda's kind of... I think Bethesda's kind of done it, right? They've kind of done it to themselves. It's like, here's Skyrim re-release. And people are sitting there saying, could we just get another one? Could we get the next one? Well, then Fallout 4 comes out. Fallout 4 is pretty good. It's a little buggy. They patch it. It gets better. The modders love it. It kind of becomes a cult classic within the community. Okay, cool. Well, then Fallout 76 comes out. What the frick are y'all doing? Right? Because to the average gamer, they don't care that some other team made it. All they know is, hey, where's the next Elder Scrolls, bro? Where is it? Fallout 76 was terrible. You remade Skyrim 85 times. It's on every device. So I'm trying to give you a glimpse into the mind of somebody that's like, bro, where is the next Elder Scrolls? And they walk out and say, oh, we made Starfield. What? What do you mean you made Starfield? We've been begging for a new Elder Scrolls, bro. I'm not saying they're right. I'm just trying to give you a glimpse into the emotional, trajectory of a Bethesda fan that might be saying that. They're saying, what, bro, I don't give a frick about Skyrim. I don't care about any of that. Fallout 76 is good now, but it doesn't matter. Their memory is, I want a new Elder Scrolls. We got Fallout 4. Fallout 4 was pretty good. Fallout 76 was not. Fallout 76 was bad at launch. Fixing it, who cares? You spilled the milk and cleaned it up. I'm not going to give you a merit badge for that. You made the game bad and you fixed it. Congrats, well done. You did right by the consumer. That you don't get a badge for that. You don't get anything. Right? You did the right thing. Like, congratulations, you showed up to work on time. Right? Like, that doesn't matter. To the consumer that's been waiting, more coffee? Yeah, order more coffee. To the consumer to the consumer that's been waiting, the long-standing Elder Scrolls fan, none of that freaking crap matters. Only ponies are hating on Starfield? Oh, no, I don't think so. I think there are a lot of big diehard Sony fans that are hating on Starfield because they're jealous they're not getting it. So they're now rooting for its failure, right? They're rooting for its failure because they're not going to get it. A lot of people think that's me. I'm like, I'm going to play it on my Xbox Series X with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. I'll probably really blow back the Xbox hair, the fans' hair. I'll blow the hair off their head. I'll actually pay for the game. What? But I'm just trying to point out there are people that are huge Bethesda fans that are not happy. They wanted another Elder Scrolls. Or they're a really big Bethesda fan and they play on PlayStation and they're like, what in the frick, man? I can't get that game now? That has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with the game or Bethesda. Microsoft did that, right? I believe in exclusive. None of this kumbaya. All games are the same nonsense. If I'm a platform holder, I want my exclusives to be the best. That was one aspect of his video I strongly disagreed with. He says that he thinks that exclusives only exist because of greed. And I'm like, no, there's a ton of other factors as to why they exist. Right? There's a ton of other factors as to why they exist. They exist because it's better for development. They exist because it's better for their platform. They exist because it's quite literally, as Phil Spencer says, they're marketing beats for the platforms. You cannot expect, platforms to not invest in their own stuff. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. I bleed blue, says Casual Grinder, but I still want to play Starfield. Screw the hate. I just want a game wherever the good game is. Yeah, I don't care where the game is. I'm going to play it and talk about it based on its quality. That's why I can defend Starfield's NPC design. I'm like, what the frick are you guys talking about? Go look at other games in this genre and then come back and talk to me about how the characters look in Starfield. Seriously. I feel like console exclusivity is dying. No, it's about to get way worse than it's ever been. No, the console war is just beginning. Console war is just beginning. All platforms are going to very, very firmly cement their ecosystems with exclusives going forward. Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, 100%. ABK deal goes through and console exclusivity will not go away. Microsoft says they're going to move further and further away from it, but they're going to do that with having the game on mobile devices, PC, and Xbox. That's how they're going to make good on that promise. They're not going to be handing games to PlayStation. They're not. The only games that you're going to see that are going to be sort of like anti-exclusive are going to be live service games because it's better for them to be everywhere. But there is going to be a rise in first-party exclusivity. And what's going to happen is Microsoft's going to try to distinguish their exclusivity and make it look broader and say, if you don't have an Xbox, no worries. You can play our games on your Samsung television through the cloud. You can play our games on a PC. You can play our games on a mobile device. They're going to try to create a mobile cloud ecosystem that's everywhere. So Microsoft exclusivity will be in more places than PlayStation exclusivity. That's why the PlayStation, handheld device that we talked about today in my PlayStation, showcase predictions, I think that's one of the reasons that's coming, is they're wanting to have that same appearance of play our games anywhere, right? Guys, if you're going to order the coffee, the Frickmas has been significantly marked down, so get your Frickmas orders in. If you are a member, you can get a buy two, get one free deal. There are codes specifically for members on both the Light Roast and the Holiday blend in the Discord. It's a great reason to get in the Discord. So climb on in there. Get on in there. Appreciate you guys so much. And we are discussing, if you're just tuning in, we reacted to a video about Starfield is hated, and I am asking the question why, and we're entertaining the idea of people get angry about exclusivity, people get angry about console wars, people get angry because they wanted Fallout or they wanted Elder Scrolls. That's kind of what we're discussing. I'm going to go to McDonald's and demand a Whopper. Right, yeah. You should be able to go to one platform and demand a game that another company invested time and money into. It's just silly. Microsoft's exclusive will definitely be available in more places. Yeah, for sure. That's going to be their marketing strategy. And that's what people are going to say. They're going to be critical, and they're going to say, oh, but our exclusives are in more places. Our exclusives are available in more places. You guys are more restrictive. You guys are anti-consumer. That'll be the big talking point from all of the drones that, work for Microsoft for free. Daddy, I want an Oompa Loompa now. That's right. Activision has confirmed that Microsoft is offering less cut percentage from PlayStation platform. PlayStation just doesn't want Microsoft owning ABK, which is understandable. Yeah, I've not looked much into the deal for about half a week. I got burned out reading PDFs and documents. We haven't covered it in a bit. I think people are angry because Fallout and Elder Scrolls are being ignored. I feel like the other studios should have worked on them, like Obsidian or someone else at Xbox. Okay, here's why Starfield gameplay is going to be under a pretty strong microscope. because of what Drufus just said. Seriously. Because of what Drufus just said, the idea that, like, listen, these other studios could have been working on this. You got everybody, you got all hands on deck for Starfield. You got all hands on deck for Starfield, man. What the frick? Like, people are not going to tolerate low quality or problems or issues with Starfield. They're not going to tolerate it. They're not. They're going to be like, dude, we didn't get Elder Scrolls for this? We didn't get a new Fallout for this? Really? This is what y'all been working on? This is what you bring to the table after all this time? It's going to, listen, expectations are justifiably high. Starfield is a system seller now too. Yeah, Todd Howard said that in an interview. There's a pressure to sell Xboxes. There's a pressure to sell systems. Solemn says, for anyone who thinks the console wars are over, both companies are currently, and further, plan to do more actions that will add tons of fuel to that fire. It's not even close to being over yet. Cal Fixie says, won't you agree that Microsoft's strategy is better, though, as it reaches more gamers? How do you quantify better? How do you quantify better? Do you think your games are going to run better when they're built for that many different ecosystems? You think they're going to be as optimized? You think they're going to be as strong? You think they're going to be as substantive when developers have to make sure the game can run on that many different systems and that many different hardware configurations? You think games that are built to run on cloud are going to be better than games running natively on a really strong console? Better is subjective, is it not? You could launch a game tomorrow, my friend, and you could make it a mobile-compatible game that also can run on the Nintendo Switch. That's going to dominate market reach comparatively. That'll be in way more places than it could ever be on PlayStation 5. Does that make that game automatically better just because it has further reach? Donald Johnson renewing his membership, coming back in at a 5-month milestone. Thank you so much, Donald Johnson. I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can just purely argue from, oh, it's better because it's going to reach more people. That doesn't matter. That doesn't mean the game quality is going to be better. It doesn't mean the games are going to be better. It just means the games are going to be in more places. If anything, it could work against the games. It could add a dilution effect. It could add a degradation effect to the games because it has to run everywhere. This is one of the reasons that I've said my biggest concern for Starfield. I'm going to keep banging on this drum. I think Starfield looks great. I'm really excited to play it. I want to become Captain Kirk and Captain Picard. I want to explore the universe, right? I want to go to strange new worlds. But I'm super concerned about performance. I think the main reason for the Starfield delay is the Xbox Series S. I'm dead serious. Having to build and optimize your game for two systems, one being weaker than the other, that's a concern. You can't just, crack off an amazing game and make it as good as possible. You gotta dumb things down. All the people that were harping on Horizon Forbidden West saying it's held back, we believe in generations, it's basically a PS4 game. Okay, well, great. You're always playing an Xbox Series S game then. You're never really playing an Xbox Series X game. You never are. You're always playing a Series S game because it has to be built for that system first. It has to be optimized for that system first. Like, apply the logic. Be fair, be consistent. I'm not saying the Series S is an old-gen console. I'm saying if you're going to argue a PS4, right? PS4 is weaker than a PS5, and that held back Horizon Forbidden West. Well, okay, well then the entire Xbox generation's being held back by the Series S. Gaffy's Descent into Madness says, Microsoft is just chumming the waters. They could give a frick less about quality. I 100% agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I think you're dealing with the idea of we're gonna get as much content as many places as we possibly can, and I think generally speaking that kind of quantitative reach hurts quality. It's kind of an axiom. It's an axiom, right? Like I don't see how you get away with that. You're going for that quantitative, reach. You're gonna hurt your quality. Optimizing for last-gen consoles is holding back games. Series S is next-gen, though. Is it? Is a Series X next-gen when most games are running at 1080 just to hit 60? 1080 is not next-gen. Dynamic 1080 is not next-gen. Seriously. Would you be that kind to the PlayStation 5 Imagine the PlayStation 5 launching God of War Ragnarok and being like, it runs at dynamic 1080 to maintain 60 FPS. Would you be saying, well, that's next gen? No, you'd say, that's old gen performance. What the frick? You're only that forgiving because it's your preference. I don't have a preference that strong in either direction. If I bought my PlayStation 5 and I was getting performance like that, I'd be furious. I'd be like, what the frick is this? What do you mean dynamic 1080? 1080? That's old gen performance. We were promised 1440. We were promised 4K, not dynamic 1080. Dynamic 1080 has been around since like PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. What the frick? That's the most common resolution you're going to find on the Series S is dynamic 1080. That's not next gen. How is that next gen? You would not be that kind and that forgiving if God of War Ragnarok came out and ran at dynamic 1080. You'd be like, what a joke. What a joke. You only do that because the Series S is like, I don't understand it. It's like just giving a pass. Like nobody looks at it as it is. It's like dynamic 1080 and Halo Infinite. How in the world do you think Starfield's going to run? Isn't Returnal 1080? I don't think so. I don't know what Returnal runs at. I don't know what Returnal performance PS5. I can't even remember. I don't think it runs at 1080. It might dip to 1080 down from dynamic. Its internal resolution is 1080 and then they upscale it to 1440. That's not the same. If its internal is 1080 upscale to 1440, that is not even technologically similar to dynamic 1080. Dynamic 1080 is not the same as an internal 1080 upscale to 1440. Those aren't comparable. Returnal runs at a native 1080 and then is upscaled. Right, and it runs beautifully. If God of War Ragnarok ran at 1080 and played and looked good, then yes, I would not fuss about it. Reason being, 1080 with max settings on PC looks just as good as 1440 dynamic on a Series X and a PS5. I mean, I just think that's demonstrably false. That simply isn't true. There's a reason that games aren't doing that. There's a reason that you're not finding a whole swath of games doing 1080. And by the way, I said dynamic 1080. You're skirting around that. Dynamic 1080, meaning it dips below 1080. It doesn't even maintain it. Ratchet & Clank 720? No, it doesn't run at 720. That's ridiculous. Ratchet & Clank has like so many different performance modes that you can run. It doesn't run at 720. They've got a 4K ray tracing mode. The frick are you talking about? The dadgum 4K 120 Hz 40 Hz mode. Ratchet & Clank runs at 720. No, it doesn't. Or are you saying people would be angry if it did? He said 1080 is better than 1440. I mean, I'm telling you, that's the level of cope you need when you're going to defend the Series S. You got to say random nonsense like that. But 1080 is better than 1440 if you turn everything up. What? Not what I said. It's essentially what you said, Ghost Legit. If you're going to tell me 1080 with everything turned up is better than 1440, that's not true because you're turning everything up and then funneling it through an inferior resolution. Oh, you turned all the resolution up. I'm sorry, you turned all the settings up, right? Well, okay, your texture quality, your shadow quality, and your lighting quality is all going through a natural form of degradation because it's going through 1080. Homie, that like you're not even running next gen resolution, so none of the stuff that you turn up can run at a next gen resolution. You're putting it through a bottleneck. Is Starfield 30 FPS? Yeah, it probably will be. We don't know for certain, but it probably will be. Yeah. Most games on the Series S run at 1440, 60. No, see, that's a misleading stat. People always throw that stat out because you're running really, really old games that have been upscaled. That you're playing a math trick game. You're misleading people. well, the Series S runs more games at 1440-60 than the PS5. Yeah, you heard that from some YouTuber or some blogger, and you're parroting it. Yeah, a bunch of old games. Cool. What does that even mean? Like, oh, I can run a bunch of old games, and they've been upscaled. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Starfield and the future of the platform. The lowest resolution for Rift Apart is between 1260 and 1440. Yeah, let's just look at this picture for a frame of reference. All right? Because we're talking about Starfield. We're talking about Starfield getting hate. And I think one of the reasons it's going to get hate is I think it's going to run poorly on Series S. I really do. There we go. Hang on, let me just change the cap card. There we go. I'm going to move to the other side. So, this right here, this green, okay, taking this and shrinking it down to that, turning all those settings on, turning all those things on that you think like, oh man, 1080 with the settings max looks better than 1440. You're funneling all those settings that you turned up into a lower resolution. So the textures, the sharpness of everything, whether it's shading, whether it's lighting, whether it's shadows, like that you're funneling it all through a much lower resolution. Like it just doesn't stand to reason. It just doesn't. He can't answer you. He's no longer with us. Oh yeah, that game. That guy. Yeah, ain't no worries with that guy. Pixel count is huge. Yeah, pixel count's a huge factor. It's a huge factor. You can't ignore it. Hang on. Oh no, we're not gonna. Yeah, we're not gonna. Oops. Ah, shit. No, we're not gonna do that. Just type him. Yeah, Creature got him. I mean, he was just in here typing in all caps and just saying utter nonsense. So, ain't worth listening to people like that. You know what I mean? Especially when their habit is just to lie. Like, they just say random stuff. They, again, they read a blog, and this is why I've been so frustrated with how so many people cover a lot of this stuff, right? It's been frustrating. Yeah, like they intentionally say things that they know are false. And then when they say those things that are false, other people go out and parrot them. And then I have to listen to it, and you have to listen to it. And anybody that tries to talk about this has to hear weird and misleading stats thrown out. Well, more 14, 40, 50, 60 FPS games in the PS5. Like, oh, wow, you can play games from 10 years ago at 14, 40, 60. Well done. I can do the same freaking thing on my phone. That's not a stat worth bragging on. If you guys missed the open, if you're just tuning in, Starfield is hated. The Starfield gameplay response has been a lot of criticism, and we reacted to a video. And if you want to go back and see my reaction, we talked about it for about an hour and a half. Right now, we're just kind of talking about exclusivity, performance. I have defended Starfield a ton, but I am concerned about performance. I'm pretty significantly concerned about how it's going to run, which got us on the subject of the Xbox Series S being the primary reason for Starfield's delay, and I don't think the game's going to run really well on it. And just you wait. If it runs poorly on the Series S, their unfalsifiable position, their Microsoft can do no wrong position, they'll blame Bethesda. Bethesda strikes again. Lazy devs strike again. That's right. Go to Digital Foundry and watch any of the reviews, any of the tech breakdowns, anything. Watch all their videos, and every single time, people look at the Series S's performance, and they blame the developers. Yeah, he's lazy devs. Oh, okay. Sure, yeah. Lazy devs. It's a shame they wouldn't do more work for a platform that they didn't design. That's exactly right. that the word of the day? What's the word of the day? What did I say? Well, Bethesda's owned by Microsoft, so... Yeah, so it's not a very good argument. You also have Todd Howard saying that there are Xbox engineers helping them optimize the game for Xbox. There'll be an insane amount of pressure on Starfield. It's kind of unfair, in my opinion. They were just an innocent multi-plat a few years ago. Now Xbox is depending on them to shift their narrative. Oh, well done. A $5 tip from I Steal Popular Names for Likes. Series X will probably manage 60 FPS 1440, but the Series S is probably going to be 30 FPS 720, upscaled to 1080, using FSR2, less memory, and a weaker GPU. So you think they're going to be able to use the FSR2 to do that? I don't know about all that. I don't know where FSR is currently in the grand scheme of things. I don't know where it is as far as like what it can do for consoles. I don't know if that's accurate. People already got their papers and their articles written to defend the performance on the Series S. Oh yeah, the blogs are already written. Right? The blogs are already written. They're already written. They're ready to go. No doubt about it. Weezy says, but yeah. Does the PS5 become the Series S when the Pro comes out? No. Because the PS5 is running games right now at next-gen level. Right? The PS5 right now is running games at the level that we were promised. 4K ray tracing modes at 30, 1440 60 performance modes. We're getting what we were promised on the PS5. The PS5 Pro is going to come out, and according to the leaks, it's going to accelerate ray tracing. So you're going to get better performance, better things, better lighting, right? But the PS5 is just going to keep doing what it's doing right now, which is delivering what it promised, delivering 1440 60 performance modes and 4K 30 ray tracing modes. If it keeps doing that, then it doesn't become the Series S. The Series S is literally falling below what it promised. It's falling below 1440. It's most commonly landing, all new games are landing 1080 if you want 60, and then the 1080 is dynamic. If you want 1440 on the Series S, you're almost always going to get 30 FPS. You're not getting next gen performance. You're getting old gen performance. I think that's the thing that people are missing. Like, the debate about the Xbox Series S always shifts around moving goalposts and really weird nebulous statements. It's like, look at all the performance problems. Oh, but the people who buy it don't care. That has nothing to do with the conversation. Paco with 12 months, and it's a VIP. Keep up the great work, Lono. I appreciate what you do. Thank you so much for an entire year of membership, Paco. Guys, you have a few minutes. If you want to hit the member goal today. We already hit 25. I already gifted 5. If we get 14 more members, I'll have to give 5 more. We're maintaining 2,500 members, and I appreciate that very much. We're actually close to 3,000 if you guys go nuts, and that'll unlock the Just Dance stream. I got another AI in gaming video for you today. I'm going to be doing a whole series on what AI is going to bring to gaming, and today's video is going to be about anti-cheat. Series S is a step above or just at the level of the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One S with an SSD, basically. Hang on. The Series S is a step above or just a level above the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, there are games that actually run better on the Xbox One X because it has more memory than the Series S. Like, really just crunch that in your noodle for a minute. There's an old gen console in the Xbox ecosystem that runs certain things better because it has more memory than the Series S. What? People really hate Starfield. I reacted to a video where a guy was kind of diagnosing why people are hating on Starfield. Yo, Quintar! Quintar says we can do it. We can do it. He takes us all the way to 46. 46 members on the day. My man Quintar, so generous. Chapter 8 says, came for the Hogwarts, became a member for the logic and the facts, renewed for the dad voice and skin. Hey, sounds like Hogwarts isn't the only thing you're coming for. Hey-oh! It's 10 gifted members from Quintar. Thank you, Chapter 8, for 2 months, and it's a VIP. Appreciate you so much. We're 4 away. You guys have 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to get 4 more members. You better hurry. We're going to be going over to this premiere. AI in gaming, anti-cheat. It's going to blow your mind, some of the tech that's being developed. Some of the tech, there it is, 51 members on the Cardox, like, I got you, bro. I got you, bro. And canceled. There we go. All right, hang on. I owe you 5 more. Here comes my 5. That's it. 50 on the day. We did it. We crushed the goal. We're absolutely dominating. Maintaining amazing member numbers. You guys are awesome. 2 streams today. Just crushing it. Not safe for work. LOL. Wow, says Shelly. Series S users make up the vast majority of the Xbox platform. I think it's disingenuous to hand wave that it's not them as not caring. You think the vast majority of the user base doesn't care? Oh, it's definitely hand waving. 100%. 100% hand waving. I mean, what else do you call it? What do you call it? No, they don't care. They don't care about performance. They're just one of the weakest systems. Listen, everybody that got a membership today, okay, 51 people, you can get a buy 2 get 1 free on my coffee right now, and we discounted the holiday blend. This is only $12.95 right now a bag. You can get 2 of these and get a 3rd one free, but you got to get in my Discord, all right? So get in the Discord, get that code. It's at the bottom of the server. You scroll all the way down, sync up, link up. You won't miss out on the members-only content. Now, I'm not doing a members-only stream today because my son has baseball tonight, which means I have like no time to get work done in the evening, okay? So I got to get everything done in the afternoon for my shows and my uploads tomorrow, all right? So I am going to send you guys over. Please help these premieres. My AI in gaming series has a lot of potential, so I need your help, okay? You supported the stream this morning about the PlayStation Showcase. You supported the stream right now where we were doing Starfield is Hated. It's a great reaction video. This video pulled, and it's going to do amazing. You guys are crushing it. I'm going to put a link in chat. I'm also going to redirect you to this premiere. As soon as you get over to this video, please leave a comment and a like. It's an upload. It's a premiere. We can chat together while this AI video is going. Make sure you come back to these live streams at the end of the day. Leave a nice comment if you enjoyed the stream. Leave a like. It helps the video. You guys all left amazing comments in the chat. Come back later and leave them on the video. It helps out immensely. So please click the link in chat. Let's head over to this AI in gaming video. I'll be in the chat with you. I will see you guys over there. Thanks so much for another incredible day.